I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham Ha'Rakakwadash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abababal. All right, so this is the additions to Esther. It's chapter 16, verse 1. The great king Artaxerxes, which is known also as Xerxes. This was the husband of Esther. He was a heathen. He was an Elamite, the king of the Persians. It says, unto the princes and governors of 127 provinces, which he had more provinces than America. So Babylon was a greater kingdom than America, because America has 50 states and less than, let me grab it. Right, so it says the United States has no provinces, only 50 states and several territories. All right, so let's see how many territories. America has 16 recognized territories. All right, so Babylon the Great was a greater kingdom than what America is today. All right, and Artaxerxes was the one that was ruling at the time when Esther and Mordecai, her uncle, was in there in that land as in captivity as slaves, and they were actually held in a higher level than just a slave. All right, but the Israelites were took to that land as slaves. Okay, so it says from India unto Ethiopia, which he had a big kingdom, and unto all our faithful subjects greeting. Many the more often they are honored with the great bounty of their gracious princes, the more proud they are waxen, and devour to hurt not our subjects only, but not being able to bear abundance, do take in hand to practice also against those that do them good, and take not only thankfulness away from among men, but also lift up with the glorious words of the lifted up with the glorious words of lewd persons that were never good. They think to escape the justice of God, which he put of God, which it was because the Israelites were around that they knew that there was one God. Otherwise, these heathen always had the belief of many gods. All right, but when they're in contact with the Israelites, we teach them that there is only one God, the supreme God, Yahweh, and his power flows through men on earth. It was with Yahushai, his son, the Messiah, the Savior of Israel, and it's with the rest of Israel, but it's greater with the elect. All right. It says, they think to escape justice of God that seeth all things and hateth evil. Oftentimes also fair speech of those that are put in trust to manage their friends' affairs hath caused many that are in authority to be partakers of innocent blood, and hath enwrapped them in remediless calamities, beguiling with the falsehood and deceit of their lewd disposition the innocency and goodness of princes, which he's talking about Haman. All right. Haman was an Edomite, and the Edomite was confederate with other heathen against Mordecai and the rest of the Israelites, which built gallows to hang the Israelites from the gallows, which they were planning to murder the Israelites in that time. It says, now ye may see this, as we have declared, not so much by by ancient histories, as ye may, if ye search what hath been wickedly done of late through the pestilent behavior of them that are unworthy placed in authority. And we must take care of the time. We must take care for the time to come, that our kingdom may be quiet and peaceful for all men, both by changing our purposes and always judging things that are evident with more equal proceeding. And this is why the rest of the heathen will be saved in a form of servitude to the Israelites, but Esau will not, because these other nations are able to understand that the Most High Yahweh and His Son Yahushua is dealing with the Israelites. All right, but the Edomites, they blaspheme the Holy Spirit. All right, they don't understand. They don't care to understand. All right, it says, for Ammon, which is Haman, a Macedonian, which, if you remember, Greek king that was a Macedonian, Alexander, he was the first Greek king, the son of Amadatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. It says, had so far forth obtained the favor that we show toward every nation, as that he was called our father and was continually honored of all the next persons unto the king. It says, but he, not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life, having by manifold and cunning deceits sought of us the destruction, as well of Mardochæus, which is Mordecai, who saved our life, and continually procured our good, as also of blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom, with their whole nation, which they are of the nation of Israel. For by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians. See, so he was like a sneaky bastard, and he was trying to take the crown from Artaxerxes and give it to Macedon, which this is what Alexander the Greek did. He conquered the known world in his time. All right. But we find that the Jews, which it was talking about Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, whom this wicked wretch had delivered to utter destruction, are no evildoers, but live by most just laws. So who are these people today? All right, it's definitely not the small hat counterfeits that are in that land that are dropping missiles on people, missiles on women and children, causing war in multiple places in the promised lands. All right, so who are these that claim to be Jews, but by their actions it shows that they are not? Because it just said right here, it says, but we find that the Jews whom this wicked wretch had delivered to utter destruction are no evildoers, but live by the most just laws, which Israelites, we have an essence of the law in our life where we actually kept the law without even knowing of the law. And, like myself, I didn't like shellfish or shrimp. That was like the essence of the law still being a remnant in my spirit. All right, or like adultery, you got men that know right off the bat that adultery is wicked, you know, uh, and these are the essence of the remnant of the spirit. All right, so who are these people that are claiming to be us when they don't keep just laws? They're unjust. All right, they're unjust in their ways. See, and the Lord ain't for these people anymore. The wicked, the Edomite, the so-called Caucasian, which Haman, all right, he was of the Macedonians, which eventually became Greeks, which were Edomites, and they eventually became the Romans, which today are the Americans and the European Union nations, all right, which they rule the world, okay? And it's the small hat counterfeit that are in our land that are claiming to be a Jew and are not, all right? It says, verse 16, and that they be sons of the Most High and most mighty living power, Yahweh, who hath ordered the kingdom both unto us and to our progenitors in the most excellent manner, which eventually Xerxes let the Israelites go back into that land, right, with Darius. And they allowed us to go back in the land. You can read about it in Ezra and in Nehemiah, and also in the Judges, because you had the judge. It started with the judge Zerubbabel, okay? But he came into that land after Babylon, right? He led the Israelites that were allowed to leave to go back to Babylon, and then they built up the city, which you can read about that in Ezra and Nehemiah. All right. It says, wherefore ye shall do well not to put in execution the letters. Wherefore ye shall do well not to put in execution the letters sent unto you by Aman, which is Haman, the son of Adamatha. For he was the worker of these things, is hanged at the gates of Susa with all his family. Yahweh, who ruleth all things, speedily rendering vengeance to him according to his deserts. Therefore ye shall publish the copy of this letter, which this is a letter of Artaxerxes, the king of Persia, which Esther was married to him. It says, in all places that the Jews, talking about the Israelite, the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, may freely live after their own laws. And so that's why we eventually we weren't in like hard slavery no more, but we were tributaries. But when we went into that land under the Assyrian Babylonian kingdom, we went in there naked and in chains. All right. But the Lord raised us up out of that slavery and brought us out. All right. Which the Lord's going to do again. And these Elamites, the Persians, all right, they're going to rise up and go against Edom, the Greeks and the Romans. All right. It says the Carmanians, they're going to remember themselves. All right. Which are these Elamites, these Iranians, and Esau's fucking with them. So they're going to go to war with Esau. All right. as well as these other nations like Russia, China, the BRIC nations, the UN nations, and even the European nations, which they have NATO. They're going to go to war with this whore, which you know as America, Babylon the Great, who are to be destroyed. All right, just like Haman, all right, and his whole entire family was destroyed. Esau is going to be destroyed in this last day for what he done unto the Israelites. All right. It says in Editions of Esther, chapter 16 and verse 20, it says, "And ye shall aid them, that even the same day, being the 13th day of the 12th month, Adar, they may be avenged on them, who in the time of their affliction shall set upon them." Which this happened every time we went into slavery. We were discovered to be more powerful than they, and they pretty much worshiped the ground that we walked on, right? Like in Egypt, when they knew of Joseph being able to see the future and discern dreams, Pharaoh put him at his right hand side, made him second in the kingdom of Egypt, right? When Daniel went into the Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar raised him up, and then even his son, he raised him up even more when he what was it? The writing on the wall, he was able to break it down for him. All right. So and I believe that was his grandson. Yeah, it was his grandson. It says, yes, Daniel interpreted the writing on the wall during the feast of Belshazzar, the grandson. So it was the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. All right. And those words pretty much were condemning the kingdom of the Assyrian Babylonian, which the Medes came in and took over, and then eventually the Persians took over, and then eventually the Greeks took over, and then the Romans, and then there was the fall of Rome, and then the Renaissance, the rebirth of the so-called white race, which they went back into power, and now they have only a little time left. All right. So it says in Additions to Esther chapter 16, verse 21, for Almighty Yahweh had turned to joy unto them the day wherein the chosen people should have perished. So the Lord saves us from these heathen trying to destroy us, and he done this in the past many times, and he's going to do it again for us in this last days. It says, for Almighty Yahweh hath turned to joy unto them the day wherein the chosen people should have perished. Ye shall therefore among your solemn feasts keep it an high day with all feasting, that both now and hereafter there may be safety to us and the well affected Persians, but to those which do conspire against us a memorial of destruction. Therefore every city and country whatsoever which shall not do according to these things shall be destroyed without mercy with fire and sword, and shall be made not only unpassable for men, but also most hateful to wild beasts and fowls forever. Which America is going to be destroyed with nuclear missiles, and it's going to become a desert of desert creatures. No man shall dwell here. All right. Now let's get Nebuchadnezzar and how he was humbled in Daniel 4. This is after he touches the holy children of Israel and threw them in the furnace. The Lord punishes them for 7 years. He makes him like a wild beast that lives in the field, lost his mind, And then after the 7 years, he gets his mind back, and he comes back, and he acknowledges the power of Yahweh. It says in Daniel 4 verse 1, Nebuchadnezzar. So I read to you how Xerxes, Artaxerxes, was humbled before the Israelites, right? To see how the power of Yahweh, the power of heaven, delivered us from the heathen, and they were destroyed in the plans of them trying to destroy us. The Higion of the wicked, the Lord entraps them in their own Higions, which is their plot against us. And he's going to do the same for the Edomites today that are plotting on trying to make us extinct here in Babylon the Great and throughout the world. It says in Daniel 4, verse 1, Nebuchadnezzar, which was a greater king than Xerxes, the king unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high power Yahweh hath wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. It says, I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, and that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians and astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last, Daniel, which was an Israelite, came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar. So he had a heathen name, just like today we have heathen names, right? And it's because we're in slavery. According to the name of my God. But you got brothers that are actually even here in this Babylon named Jesus or Jesus, right? Which that's the God of the devil, the so-called white man, the oppressor today of this captivity that we're in Babylon the Great. It says, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee. Tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. I saw in the vision of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher, and an holy one came down from heaven, and he cried aloud and said thus, hew down the tree and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass and in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him, which he was that great tree, right? The Lord took him from being a great king, the golden head of all these heathens' kingdoms, right? And he brought him low, made him like a beast, all right? To where he was in the field for 7 years. It says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men, which you got Esau ruling now, the basest of men. And he's about to take down this so-called white man, the red devil, and give him to the Israelite as a slave in these other nations, and put us above all these nations. This dream I, Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, which that's what we're doing today. We're helping you understand the scriptures. All right. Even Apostle Paul did this to King Agrippa, which was a Greek Edomite. It says in 19, then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. Talking about these other nations. It is thou, O king, thou art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is growing and reacheth unto heaven, which he was trying to destroy the Israelites, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. And whereas the king and whereas the king saw a watcher and an holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, hew the tree down and destroy it. Yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron, which America is that reincarnation of that tree, just like it's the reincarnation of Egypt, the reincarnation of Rome. All right. It says, and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field till 7 times pass over him. Which Esau went through the same thing. He became a caveman in the Dark Ages. All right. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, Yahweh, which comes to his son Yahushai, which is come upon my lord the king, that they should drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall whet and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee 7 years, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. So he humbled him. He was real proud. That's why he made that golden image and commanded that everybody bow before it, and giveth it to whomsoever he willeth. So right now that you see Esau being roused up, and soon they're going to make that implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling. Immediately after that, the Lord's going to bring down Lucifer, the kingdom of Edom, by nuclear fire. It says, and whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule, which he came back. And remember, his grandson lost the kingdom. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven, saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee. For 7 years he should be like that, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, which he's going to take it from Edom and give it to the Israelites. And he's going to send his son Yahushua to do it. All right? The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were growing like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird claws. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. And this is why Jacob is not destroyed, because Yahweh does not change. He brought us out of Egypt. He brought us out of Babylon. He's going to bring us out of this wicked ass kingdom, the kingdom of Edom. It says, and all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doth according to his will in the army of heaven, which he's sending the army of heaven with Yahushua to get the elect of Israel. All right? And among the inhabitants of the earth, it froze. Daniel 4 and 30. Verse 35. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doth according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand, or say unto him, What dost thou? At the same time my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom mine honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and an excellent majesty was added unto me. So he was ruling as a mighty king, right? Greater than all these kings before. And then all of a sudden he lost his mind and he became like an animal, where he had long nails and long hair, like you would see a homeless person crazy, eating grass like an oxen. But then after 7 years, as it was prophesied by Daniel, right? And it was actually given to him by a dream also. Nebuchadnezzar came out of that crazy state, just like Esau did after 1,000 years, and they became able to rule the world. But not Belshazzar, the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, it was in his time that the Lord had him lose the kingdom to the Medes, and then eventually the Persians came in, all right, which eventually the Greeks and the Romans, and then now we're in the last days of the wicked Edomites ruling, and they're going to go down, but they're going to be remembered never again, all right. After their 1,000 years of slavery, they're going to be made extinct. The rest of these heathen are going to be preserved to serve us, the Israelites, whom are going to be saved. It says in Daniel 4, verse 37, Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. And he's going to abase this devil, the so-called white man in this generation, and destroy his kingdom, enslave him under the Israelites, starting with his elite, and then eventually extinct him. All right. But with that, I give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa ba ba ba.